Alright, so we're going to be talking a matter that's relevant to both Warhammer 3 and Total War Warhammer 2 today, and that is the matter of Old World updates. Now, the Old World updates have varied quite a bit in terms of content, which I think is going to be one of the cruxes of this kind of matter. It seemed obvious to me for quite a while that every race was going to get their one update, and everyone except the Beastmen and Chaos Warriors have gotten their one right now, which makes sense, because I believe Creative Assembly, or one of the designers at Creative Assembly, has said that they want to hit the Old World updates in order of the most work, and the Beastmen and Chaos Warriors were probably the worst races in Warhammer 1. So it seems only perfectly natural that those two should be the two that get updated before Warhammer 3, or if there's only space for one more Old World update, let the Beastmen be updated in Warhammer 2, and then Chaos Warriors in Warhammer 3 when they add Chaos Demons, because, you know, those are pretty relevant. However, I've been noticing more and more people argue in favor of having the... I don't remember giving them a Cygor. Oh, right. Ray Shaman. Anyways, I've been seeing more and more people argue in favor of the Dwarfs, Vampire Counts, or Norska just getting a second Old World update instead of the Beastmen or Chaos Warriors getting updated at all. Now, I think that's obviously a bit of a silly argument to make just because, you know, the Dwarfs, Vampire Counts, and Norska are pretty playable. I'd say that the Vampire Counts and Dwarfs are lacking for campaign features, but compared to Beastmen and Chaos, they are very complete. They got Old World updates, and they just weren't as big and content-filled as the Old World updates that the Greenskins and Empire got. Which, I guess, you know, it's understandable to be a little bit jealous there. I mean, after all, I think we wish every Warhammer 2 race could be as complete as the Empire and Greenskins are right now in campaign. As well as, of course, the Wood Elves. The Wood Elves got a massive update. The Wood Elves fundamentally had their entire gameplay cycle changed. But the thing is, the Dwarfs and Vampire Counts are already in a pretty good state, and Norska's in a fantastic state, if you ask me. I think the Norskins have a very interesting, very different campaign, even if they don't necessarily have a lot of buttons that they can press to open up, you know, a tribal elector count menu or what have you. I think, you know what, actually I'll get around to why I think people want that change in a second. But I do want to get out of the way first. Chaos Warriors and Beastmen, no arguing about it to me. It's just the Beastmen have campaign mechanics that feel like they're punishing you for playing, which works for Warhammer Fantasy lore, because the Beastmen are, in Warhammer Fantasy lore, terrible, and they get their asses kicked by everyone. But as a video game mechanic, it's not very encouraging to play the Beastmen and feel like you're being punished for playing them. If you want to deliberately set out with the idea of playing the Beastmen for a challenge, then by all means it's fine, but Creative Assembly are selling the Beastmen as a DLC, and not only that, there's a lot of people who would want to play the Beastmen and not necessarily be challenged. I think it would be smarter to have some Beastmen Legendary Lords have an easier campaign and other ones have a more difficult one. Like, say, with the High Elves, Tyrion gets a very easy campaign, Emmerich gets a very difficult one. That should probably be the structure they follow, whereas the Beastmen right now, it's just kind of a rough time for everybody. Between the Bray Herds mechanic, the Moor's Lead mechanic, all that kind of stuff really makes the Beastmen suffer. And Chaos Warriors just straight up don't have any real unique campaign mechanics outside of being a horde, which makes for a very boring campaign. Now, compare that to the Dwarfs, the Vampire Counts, and Norska. They've got interesting, different campaigns where you can work with it. I think the problem people have with those three, honestly, is that right now, oh my god, right now, those three have pretty difficult campaigns for one reason or another. Norska was more than likely intentionally made difficult by Creative Assembly, and I can't see that changing, just because Norskins aren't supposed to be, you know, a separate military power in the Warhammer Fantasy lore. So they're kind of weak in that regard, intentionally. I can see people complaining that they don't have enough Legendary Lords, and by all means, I can see Warhammer 3 throwing in a free LC Legendary Lord for them. You know, someone like, maybe not Scylla Anfengrim, because he'd require too much budget, but something else. But Norska is otherwise complete, and it's just that they're a bit difficult because their campaign mechanics were built to be difficult with their buildings and everything. Vampire counts are having trouble right now because, well, their auto-resolve isn't great. But that's just the kind of thing that get changed in balance. And dwarfs actually have a pretty easy campaign if you play from Ungrim's side, but Belagar, Thorgrim, and Grombrindal all have rather difficult campaigns at the moment for varying reasons. And I think people want updates just because they can... More features makes the race feel like there's more you can do. Perhaps I'm making a misjudgment. But either which way, I don't think that the dwarfs or vampire counts are done. Nor do I even think Norska's done, despite the fact that they don't really have much tabletop content to adapt. I think that the dwarfs and vampire counts will get their hour again in Game 3. Whereas, let's say, the Greenskins, I can't see the Greenskins getting another update in Warhammer 3. But Beastmen and Chaos have to be prioritized if anyone's getting more work done on them in Warhammer 2. And Chaos, I think, more than likely, I think how it's going to shape out is that the last DLC of Warhammer 2 is Beastmen versus Dark Elves. Because the Dark Elves are the last Warhammer 2 core race without 6 Legendary Lords. Chaos Warriors would make sense for an early, probably the first priority for a cross-game Lord pack for Warhammer 3. Just because they have so many interesting units missing from their roster, that just a simple free LC update probably wouldn't cut it because they'd still have a pretty boring battle mechanics. Because, I mean, if you play Chaos Warriors in battles right now, they're pretty well just punchy, heavily armored infantry, and punchy, heavily armored monsters. Which can be fun sometimes, but it lacks variety. You know, comparable to the variety lacking in the dwarfs, which is another topic for another day. So yeah, if you... Oh, well, there we go. For a quick little summary, I think the Beastmen and the Chaos Warriors are the obvious candidates for the last updates of Warhammer 2 and first updates of Warhammer 3. Dwarfs and Vampire counts, I think, will definitely get their day in the sun again, though. And thank you for watching.